Okay, so today our topic is on the JVP, that is your jugular venous pulse. Okay, so the two main objectives of measuring the JVP, why do we need to measure the why do we need to examine the jugular venous pulse, is for measuring the jugular venous pressure and for studying the waveform. Okay, so for measuring this jugular venous pressure, mainly the right internal jugular vein is preferred. Okay, so this right internal jugular vein, that is mainly it is present beneath the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and just adjacent to the right internal jugular vein, you have got the external jugular vein also. But here we are mainly concerned, with the right internal jugular vein. We measure the jugular venous pressure by examining the right internal jugular vein, not the external jugular vein. Why is it so? Because it is the internal jugular vein which is mainly going to drain into the right atrium. It has got connection with the right atrium. And by measuring the pressure inside the right internal jugular vein, since it communicates directly with the right atrium, you can measure the pressure, the pressure changes which is taking place, the pressure and the hemodynamic changes which is taking place inside the right atrium. Okay, so that is the main importance of measuring the right internal jugular venous pressure, because by measuring it, we can it reflects the pressure and the changes which is taking place, the hemodynamic changes taking place in the right side of the heart in all the phases of cardiac cycle. Next is, how are we going to measure the jugular venous pressure? So for measuring the jugular venous pressure, we mainly ask the patient to sit at a 45 degree. We make him turn his head to the left, and we notice the pulsations in the right internal jugular vein. So as I told you, it is just located beneath the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and there we can see the pulsations. We can see the pulsations in the right internal jugular vein. So what we do is that we measure the highest point of this jugular pulsation. Okay, so how do we measure the JVP? First, we make the patient sit at 45 degree, tell him to turn his head to the left. We examine the right internal jugular vein. We note the highest pulsation of this jugular pulsation, the highest point of the jugular pulsation. So after finding out the highest point of the jugular pulsation, then we are going to mark that point, the point of the highest point of the jugular pulsation, and then we are going to locate the sternal angle. Okay, so we have to locate the sternal angle. So after locating we have to find out the angle of the sternum. After finding out the angle of the sternum, we have to measure vertically from that point up to this point of this highest point of this jugular venous pulsation. So this height, this is what is called as the mean JVP. Okay, so we have to mainly measure the height of this from the sternal angle. We have to locate the sternal angle. We have to locate the highest point of the jugular venous pulsation. And then we have to measure vertically from this point, point of the sternal angle. We have to measure vertically. And this height, which corresponds to this highest point of the highest point of the jugular pulsation. So this height is going to give you your main JVP. And this main JVP, normally it should be less than 3 centimeters. If it is more than 3 centimeters, it means that the JVP is raised. Okay. So this is a way of non-invasively measuring the JVP. You can also measure the JVP invasively by inserting the central line. Remember, this measurement of this jugular venous pressure, it gives us the central venous pressure, the CVP, the central venous pressure that can be accurately estimated from this jugular venous pressure. Okay, so this is all about the jugular venous pressure. Next, we shall talk about the different waveforms of the JVP. So talking about the different waveforms of the JVP, remember these waveforms, there are mainly 3 positive waves and 2 negative waves in this JVP, in this jugular venous pulse, the normal waveforms. So it is like this. First positive waveform is the A wave. Then next is the C wave. followed by a negative wave, that is your X wave or the X descent. Then there is a small positive wave, the V wave. Then it is followed again by a Y descent, and again this thing is going to continue. Sorry, this is A wave, C wave, X descent, V wave, Y descent, and again this thing is going to continue. Okay, so this is a normal jugular venous pulse, a normal waveforms of a jugular venous pulse. So what does this various waveforms represent? We shall discuss one by one. This is the first positive wave, ACV. Again, this is ACV. This is your X descent. The first descent is X descent, and this is your Y descent. In some books, this portion is also written as X dash. Okay. So now we are going to see what does all of these waves represent. Remember, these waves, they mainly represent the phasic changes, pressure changes in the right atrium. So this A wave is mainly, this A stands, how will you remember? A stands for, remember, atrial contraction. So this A wave is mainly because of the contraction of the right atrium. So remember, in the right atrium, the blood flow, you know, the deoxygenated blood from the face and the neck, that mainly comes through this internal jugular vein via the superior vena cava. So first, initially, there is going to be the right atrial contraction. And as you know, whenever there is going to be a contraction, some flow of blood is going to take place from the atrium to the ventricle, and some amount of blood will also be pushed upwards. So this is responsible for creating this positive wave, this A wave, because of increased pressure in the right internal jugular vein. Okay, so the A wave is very clear. This is because of the right atrial contraction. Okay, and next come to the C wave. Before coming to the C wave, you have got another wave, that is, you know, this X dash. In some books, most of the books, you just have these three positive waves, ACV, and two negative waves, X and Y. In some books, you have also got this X dash. X dash, this is a fall in the pressure inside the right internal jugular vein. This is because after this atrial contraction, as you know, the blood will flow from the right atrium to the right ventricle. So because of this blood flow, there is this X dash. Next is the C wave. Next positive wave is going to be your C wave. Now, what is the reason for the C wave? C wave, this is mainly occurring during the ventricular systole. When the ventricle is contracting, what will happen is that there will be the upward bulging of the tricuspid valve. Let us only draw the, you know, the right ventricle only. Your right ventricle and your right atrium. This is your tricuspid valve. I've only drawn this portion. So when this ventricle is going to contract, there is going to be the bulging of this, you know, this tricuspid valve into the right atrium, because of the ventricular systole. So because of the bulging of the right tricuspid valve into the right atrium, you know, some pressure will be transmitted into the internal jugular vein, and which is responsible for this C wave. Okay, remember, C wave is mainly because of the ventricular systole, the bulging of the tricuspid valve into the right atrium, which is transmitting the pressure into the right internal jugular vein, resulting in this positive C wave, right? Okay, so there has been atrial contraction, then there was ventricular contraction. Now what is going to occur? Now, after this ventricular contraction, there is going to be the atrial, during this ventricular contraction, you know, during this ventricular contraction, there is going to be this atrial relaxation, and then there is going to be the ejection of the blood during the ventricular systole. As you can see here, this is your pulmonary artery. So when the ventricle is contracting, after the you know, this pulmonary valves are going to open, and there is going to be this ventricular ejection, and there is going to be, at the same time, there is going to be the atrial relaxation. So during this time, during this atrial relaxation, and you know, when the pulmonary valves are open and the blood from the ventricles is being ejected, the ventricular ejection is taking place with the open pulmonary valves, and the atria is relaxing. So mainly because of this atrial relaxation, there is again going to be the downward displacement of the tricuspid valve. See, during this ventricular systole, there was this one, the upward displacement of tricuspid valve. due to which increased pressure was getting transmitted in the right internal jugular vein. But now during this X wave, this X descent, there is the atrial relaxation, due to which there is downward bulge of the tricuspid valve. There is decreased pressure inside the right atrium, due to which is responsible for this decreased pressure in right atrium, decreased pressure in the right internal jugular vein, which is responsible for the X descent. Right? Next, let us come to the next positive wave, that is your V wave. Remember, V for Venus or Venus. It's V for Venus. What Venus? What does it Venus stand for? Venus means this is mainly the filling of the right atrium with blood. Okay, so the atria has relaxed, and during the atrial relaxation, there is the filling of the right atrium with blood. So this venous, the right atrium, it mainly gets its blood from where? From the veins, isn't it? Superior vena cava, from the right internal jugular vein. So this venous filling of the atrium, which is taking place during the filling of this atrium, obviously there will be some increased pressure in the right atrium during this filling, which will be transmitted to the right internal jugular vein, responsible for this V wave. Okay, so after this filling takes place, after this filling takes place, then there is a increase in pressure, as I told you, in the right internal jugular vein. After that comes your Y wave. Y wave is called as the Y descent or the diastolic collapse. This occurs when the blood filling has already occurred, when the blood has already filled in the right atrium. There is a passive flow of blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle. Okay, so because of this passive and rapid flow of blood into the right ventricle, which occurs after the second heart sound, this is responsible, because when the blood is flowing from the right atrium to right ventricle, obviously there is a, the pressure in the right atrium is decreased, and this is responsible for this Y descent. Right? So repeat once again, I shall repeat it once again. A is mainly for the atrial contraction. The three positive waves, let us see it first. A is because of right atrial contraction. C is because of right ventricular contraction. Okay. And what about this V wave? This V wave is mainly because of this rapid flow of blood, which is occurring from the, this V wave is mainly because of the venous filling of the right atrium with blood. The filling of the right atrium with blood is responsible for the V wave. Okay, X wave is mainly because of the atrial relaxation which is taking place, and Y wave is because of the rapid flow of blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle. Okay, so these are the different waveforms. This is important. Next, we shall talk about the abnormalities in the jugular venous pressure. So what are the different abnormalities in the JVP? So, we are mainly concerned when there is a rise in the JVP. So what can be the different reasons for the rise in JVP? The most common cause for the rise in JVP is the right heart failure. Why? Because during the right heart failure, the heart is not able to fill properly with blood. Okay. So the filling of the heart with blood doesn't take place. A right heart failure, the heart is not able to pump properly, and there is a back pressure which develops, and from left heart failure it gradually progresses to the right heart failure, or sometimes there can be the cor pulmonale, only the right heart failure, which can occur because of some abnormalities in the right ventricle or the right atrium. And because of this right heart failure, there often occurs a volume overload, because the veins are not properly able to drain the blood into the right atrium, and because of this reason, the JVP is raised. There is a rise in this JVP. The main reason is right ventricular failure. What other reasons can also occur? When there is going to be tricuspid regurgitation, the blood is again going to flow back. Okay, tricuspid regurgitation can also be a reason for this raised JVP. Tricuspid stenosis. This valve is stenosed. Blood is not able to fill up properly. It's not able to flow properly from the atria to the ventricles. There is an increased pressure in the right atrium, which is transmitted to the right internal jugular vein. What else? Others like here, constrictive pericarditis. Again, what is constrictive pericarditis? This is a chronic inflammation of the pericardium, which sometimes leads to scarring of the pericardium, due to which the heart is again not able to fill properly with blood, and which leads to a, there is engorgement of blood in these veins, which leads to the raised JVP. And other reasons are your cardiac tamponade. What is cardiac tamponade? That is the filling of the pericardial space with fluid or with blood. Again, it causes an inward pressure on the heart, which again is responsible for the raised JVP. Okay, so these are some of the main causes of, one more thing is the overuse of IV fluids. If there is excess, you have overuse of IV fluids, can also lead to a volume overload, and it can cause a raised JVP. Apart from this, you have also got other reasons, like you have got, if there is a massive ascites, or there is a right-sided pleural effusion. Okay, right-sided pleural effusion, and in cases of the pulmonary embolism, some other causes of the raised JVP. Okay, so this is all about the raised JVP. Let us see some abnormalities in the waveforms. Like in certain cases, you can get some abnormal A wave. As I told you, this is your A wave, this is your C wave, then it's your X descent, your B wave, your Y wave. Okay, Y descent. So in certain cases, there can be some abnormalities in the A waves. You can get some large A waves. Your large A waves are also called as your Cannon waves. And sometimes you can have an absent A wave also. The A wave is not at all present. There is absent A wave. You can have some abnormalities in the V waves. Usually the abnormalities in the A wave and V wave is very common. I'll tell you it's not common, but it's mainly because of some diseases. So the V wave, there can be a large V wave, okay, and there can be some abnormalities of the X descent. Sometimes you can find a very prominent X descent, sometimes you can find a very less prominent X descent. Similar to the Y descent, sometimes you have a rapid Y descent, sometimes you have a slow Y descent. So let us just go into the different reasons for that. First, what can be the reason for the large A wave? Just think yourself, what can be the reason for a large A wave? The large A wave is mainly for the right atrial contraction. So when the pressure during the right atrial contraction has increased. Now, why the pressure during right atrial contraction will increase? Maybe the right atrium is trying to contract against a closed or, a partially closed tricuspid valve. Okay, so during that time, the pressure inside the right atrium, it increases. So what are the different reasons for these, why the reason for this contraction of the right atrium against a closed, a very closed the tricuspid valve? This can be because of many reasons, mainly because of the premature ventricular contraction. This is a type of premature ectopic beats. Okay, so these ectopic beats, they often lead to the closure of the tricuspid valves. The tricuspid valves, they don't open. Okay, that during the contraction, the tricuspid valve should open and then the blood flows from right atrium to right ventricle. So this synchronization doesn't take place during certain of the arrhythmia, certain of the ectopic, certain premature contractions, premature ventricular contraction. Or there can be a tricuspid stenosis. There has been a tricuspid stenosis that can also lead to a large A waves. Okay, so the reasons for the large A waves you can have is that in the tricuspid stenosis, or if there is pulmonary hypertension. Okay, so there is increased pressure in the pulmonary blood vessels, there is pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension, or there is pulmonary stenosis, or there is right ventricular hypertrophy. In all these cases, when there is right ventricular hypertrophy, there is pulmonary stenosis, tricuspid stenosis, there is, in these conditions, there is an increased pressure which is transmitted in the right internal jugular vein, and there is, this increased pressure as well as this the pressure during the contraction of the right atrium that increases. Okay, so this is responsible for the large A waves, as I told you, tricuspid stenosis, your pulmonary hypertension, pulmonary stenosis, right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay. And what are the reasons for the regular Canon A waves? Again, that is different, as I told you, different types of, abnormalities in rhythm. Like you have got your junctional rhythm, incomplete heart block, okay, multiple ectopics. They're also responsible for your, mainly the regular Canon waves, which is occurring at regular intervals, okay, regular Canon waves. That is mainly because of junctional rhythm. And in the patients of complete heart blocks or in ectopics, you have got the irregular Canon waves. So in these cases, you have got your irregular Canon A waves. You know what happens during complete heart block? During complete heart block, the atria and the ventricles, okay, they are activated independently. The normal synchronization which we see from SA node to AV node, bundle of his Purkinje fibers, this particular thing is lost, okay? So the atria, they beat on their own, they are activated on their own, and the ventricles, they have their own rhythm. So in the CHB, complete heart block, there are the presence of this irregular A waves. And when do you think there will be absent A waves? The atria is not contracting, or it is contracting very, feeble contraction. When there is going to be absent A waves, this is often asked in vivas and also in the different MCQs. Remember, absent A wave is mainly seen in atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation, when the heart rate, it becomes very, when the contrast, or the rate of contraction of the atria, it becomes very high, nearly, 400, 500 beats per minute. So in these cases, there will be absent A waves, right? Okay, next let us come to the abnormalities of the V wave. The abnormalities of the V waves, right? So let us first see that what is the reason of the, what is the reason for the V wave? Like, why do we have the V wave? As I told you, V for venous, it is mainly because of the venous filling of the right atrium. Okay, the filling of the right atrium with blood from the veins is responsible for the V wave. So what can be the reason for large V waves? Large V waves can be because of tricuspid regurgitation. Okay, so this filling which is taking place, apart from this filling, due to this tricuspid valves and non-compliant tricuspid valves, there is again a backflow of blood into the right atrium, which is leading to more increased pressure inside the right atrium. Okay, and this increased pressure is again going to be transmitted to the right internal jugular vein. So the main reason for large V waves is going to be your tricuspid regurgitation and your right ventricular failure. In right ventricular failure, as you know, the heart is not able to properly pump blood. There is a accumulation of blood. The heart is not able to properly pump blood. Okay, so then that is also responsible for the large V waves. Then come to the abnormalities of the X descent. Again, what is the reason for this X descent? It is mainly because of the atrial relaxation. Okay, so so what is the reason for the increased prominence? There is two things which you find the abnormalities. One is increased prominence of the X wave, and another is the decreased prominence of the X wave. Remember, the increased prominence of the X wave, that mainly occurs during cardiac tamponade. What is cardiac tamponade? As I told you, the filling up of the pericardial space with fluid or with blood. Okay, so this cardiac tamponade, and you have got constrictive pericarditis, atrial septal defect. So these all are responsible for the increased prominence of this X wave. And decreased prominence, that is mainly due to the tricuspid regurgitation, right ventricular failure, responsible for decreased prominence of X wave. Okay, and these are mainly the abnormalities. Some others like rapid Y descent. When there is rapid Y descent, V wave, this is your Y descent. When is the rapid Y descent? Rapid Y descent mainly takes place in tricuspid regurgitation. Again, why is the Y wave produced? The Y wave is when the tricuspid valve opens and there is a passive flow of blood, which causes a decreased pressure inside the right atrium. Okay, So what happens, like what is responsible for this rapid Y descent? Rapid Y descent is mainly occurring during this tricuspid regurgitation. Okay, and there are also constrictive pericarditis, severe right heart failure can also lead to rapid Y descent. And why there will be slow Y descent? Slow Y descent when the blood is not properly, it is not able to empty from the right atria to the right ventricle, right? Y descent is mainly because the blood is flowing from the right atria to the right ventricle. So if the blood is not able to properly empty from the right atria to right ventricle, blood is not able to properly flow, it will lead to a slow Y descent. So what can be the reason blood is not properly able to flow from the right atrium to right ventricle? You have got the tricuspid stenosis, okay, so or the cardiac tamponade. These are the reasons for your the slow Y descent. Okay, so these are your different abnormalities, but mainly remember here the common things which are asked is mainly with the Cannon waves. You mainly get what are Cannon waves? Cannon waves are the large A waves. And where do we have the Cannon waves? As I told you just now, Cannon waves is a tricuspid stenosis, pulmonary hypertension, right ventricular hypertrophy. Absent A waves, this is also a commonly asked question, that is an atrial fibrillation, and your V waves. V waves are also asked, that is mainly tricuspid regurgitation. Okay. Okay. Next, the point which we need to discuss here is that about the differences between, how will you find out the difference between the jugular venous pulse and the carotid pulse? So what is the main differences between the JVP and the carotid pulse? Remember, in JVP, when you examine the neck of the patient, okay, so when you are examining the neck of the patient, so here you can find a prominent pulsation and you can find a definite upper level. You can just clearly see that there is an upper level of this pulse, a definite upper level. In carotid pulse, you're not going to find a definite upper level. So here you are going to find a definite upper level, and here you are not going to find any definite upper level of this pulsation. Okay, and here you will find during inspiration and expiration, if you keep up, if you examine this pulse which you are seeing, carotid pulse, it shows no change with respiration. Okay, so with inspiration, expiration, it will be the same. But JVP, remember, there is going to be the upper level that falls during inspiration. During inspiration, there is going to be a fall in the upper level. And here there is going to be no change with respiration. There is going to be no change with respiration. Okay, and remember, when the patient sits, on sitting up, it's this level, it appears lower in the neck. But carotid pulse, when the patient sits, this level, it appears higher. Okay, so this carotid, this pulsation, this jugular venous pulse, it appears lower in the neck when the person sits, and during the carotid pulse, when the person sits, this level appears higher up in the neck. Okay, and when you examine this jugular venous pulse has usually got a wavy column, and here you can find 2 to 3, the same positive waves which I told you, A, C, V. Usually mainly the A and the C waves are mainly seen. So you can find 2 to 3 positive waves. You can see 2 to 3 positive waves. But here you can find here the carotid pulse, it is not wavy, rather it is jerky. Okay, jerky with only one wave. You can find only one wave. Here you can find, at least if you examine it properly and closely, you can find there are 2 to 3 positive waves, and here there is only one wave. And similarly, here are 2 descents, you know, I told you the 2 descents, the X and the Y descent, and here there is only one descent. Okay, so when you palpate it, remember, carotid pulse is well palpable. You can palpate it. You can find a palpable pulse. You can palpate it as a pulsation. Okay, so but this jugular venous pulse, it is not a palpable. This is a very important point. Carotid pulse is palpable. When you try to palpate it, okay, so you can very well palpate it, but this is not palpable. You can just feel it as a fluttering sensation. Okay. Then next point is, Jugular venous pulse, if you apply a mild pressure at the root of the neck, when you apply a mild pressure, this is obliterated. But carotid pulse is not obliterated with, even if you apply pressure at the root of the neck. So when you will go for your practical classes, when you go to the wards, you can very well see this. It's not palpable and well palpable, and you can also put your, obliterate apply a mild pressure at the root of the neck, and you will find the JVP is gone. Okay, you can't find the pulsation anymore. But in this carotid pulse, even if you apply pressure at the root of the neck, it's not going to be obliterated. Okay, and the last point is that here the hepatojugular, I'll tell you what is hepatojugular reflex. Here the hepatojugular reflex is present, and here there is, the hepatojugular reflex is absent. So let us see what is this hepatojugular reflex. Again, hepatojugular reflex is an important thing. So hepatojugular reflex, it is also called as the abdominojugular reflex. Hepatojugular reflex. It is also called as the abdominojugular reflex. So what is done is that you are mainly going to place your palm of the hand, you are going to place it over the abdomen. Okay, so in the periumbilical area. So mainly in the abdomen, in the periumbilical area. So here you are going to place the palm of your hand in the periumbilical area, and you are going to apply a firm pressure for at least a minimum amount of time, period of 10 seconds. You're going to apply a firm pressure for around 10 seconds. So when you are going to apply the pressure, immediately when you examine the jugular pulse, you'll find that the upper level of the jugular pulse, it moves upwards. Okay, like after applying the pressure, when you're applying the pressure, simultaneously when you look at the jugular pulse, okay, so when you look at the patient's, the jugular pulse, so you will find that this upper level of the jugular venous pulsation, the highest level, the upper level, it has moved upwards. And as soon as you remove this pressure, what happens is that it falls, this level which had risen, this suppose the JVP was here, okay, the upper level, the highest level of the pulsation was here. When you applied the pressure, it moved to this point. Usually it is less than 3 centimeter. It moves upwards by less than 3 centimeter. And when again you remove this pressure, this jugular venous pressure, the highest point of this jugular venous pulse will again fall. Okay, so this is what is the normal response. This is a normal response which you are going to get of, that the patient is not having any problem. The normal response when you apply pressure in the periumbilical area on the abdomen, this jugular venous, the upper level of the jugular venous pulse is going to move upwards by less than 3 centimeter. And when you are going to remove the pressure, the level is again going to fall. So what do you understand? There is something which is called as the positive hepatojugular reflex test. This is seen in early heart failure, early or incipient heart failure. Okay, so for the early heart failure, if the patient is having a positive hepatojugular reflex, then you say that it's a test which is seen in positive in patients of early heart failure, right heart failure. So how are you going to demonstrate this positive abdominojugular reflex test or this hepatojugular reflex test? In this case, what happens is that when you are applying the pressure for 10 seconds, so there is a rise in JVP of more than 3 centimeters. Suppose I say you, this is the original one. So there is a rise of, this is a normal patients will have this much rise, but this patient is having a rise of this upper level of the jugular venous pulsation of more than 3 centimeters. Okay, so, and it remains high throughout the period of compression. As long as you have compressed it, it will remain high only. And suddenly when you release the compression, as soon as you release the compression, there is an abrupt drop of around 4 centimeters in this jugular venous pulse, the upper level of the jugular venous pulse. It drops down abruptly. Okay, So this is what is called as the positive hepatojugular reflex. And this is positive mainly in the patients of early or the incipient right heart failure. Okay, so this is all about it. And remember, there are some exceptions also. Like remember, if the patient has got a IVC obstruction, inferior vena cava obstruction, in this case, the upper level of the JVP, it does not move upward at all. Even suppose you see a patient, normally it should at least move upward by less than 3 centimeter. If the patient is in the early stages of heart failure, it will move by more than 3 centimeter. But if the upper level of the JVP is not moving at all, there will be absolutely no movement of the upper level of the JVP, then you might doubt that the patient is having a IVC obstruction and there is the hepatic vein occlusion. In these cases, the upper level of the JVP doesn't move. Okay. So last one thing I just want to say before concluding this lecture, that is, there is one more thing which is related to this jugular pulse. That is your Kussmaul's sign. Kussmaul's sign. What is this Kussmaul's sign? So normally remember, there is a decrease in the height of this jugular venous pulsation. There is a drop in the jugular venous pressure during inspiration. So just now, before also I had told you the changes in JVP which takes place with inspiration, but there is no change in carotid pulse with respiration, I had told you. So normally what happens is that there is a decrease in the height of the jugular venous pulsation. There is a decrease in the jugular venous pressure during inspiration. But in certain individuals with certain conditions, like, you know, constrictive pericarditis, restrictive cardiomyopathy, in all these conditions, there is an increase in the height of this jugular venous pulsations. There is a rise in the JVP during inspiration. So this is the opposite thing which is taking place. Normally, this is a normal thing. Normally, there should be a decrease in JVP with inspiration. But here, there has been a rise of JVP with inspiration. This is what is called as the Kussmaul sign. So where can you find the Kussmaul sign? It is mainly seen in certain conditions. You know, during inspiration, there is a negative intrathoracic pressure. Okay. So that is mainly responsible for the decrease in JVP. So what is responsible for this increase in JVP during inspiration is that certain diseases, like as I told you, the constrictive pericarditis, constrictive pericarditis, you have got the restrictive cardiomyopathy, you have got severe right heart failure, you have got acute severe asthma, any conditions which is mainly affecting the right side of the heart. Okay, you know, acute severe asthma, pulmonary embolism, severe tricuspid regurgitation. Okay, so in all these, even in case of tricuspid stenosis, in all these cases, there will be a rise in JVP with inspiration. And this phenomenon is called as, this sign is called as Kussmaul's sign. And this is mainly found in these situations. Okay, so this is all about your JVP. This is all for today's class.